everybody. It's the Trading Post again. Me, Fred, and your buddy Noodle. And we want to welcome you guys to, tell them Noodle, you want to welcome them to the first episode of the Fred Files. All right, guys, we're going to get into this here in just a second. Give me a second. All right, everybody. This first episode is going to be the Vilisca axe murders. Okay. Now, first things first, you guys. I'm trying to cover this stuff so we all have a little bit of a knowledge of some of the crazy things that people do and have done in our history and in time. And as a matter of fact, I got a lot of different things that I have in mind for this. If you have any ideas for these Fred Files that I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do missing disappearances, cold cases, things of that sort. I actually have literally like 5 pages of cold cases from 1900 on the way up to 1979. I have to do the research per case, do all that, but I actually have them set up for that. I'm also going to do, I think I should put the missing 411 stuff in here with it, maybe. Tell me your option. Tell me your opinion of it. What do you think? Anyways, let's get started. Okay. The Vilisca axe murders occurred between the evening of June 9th, 1912, to the early morning of June 10th, 1912. In the town of Vilisca in Iowa, United States, the 6 members of the Moore family and 2 guests were found bludgeoned in the Moore residence. All 8 victims, including 6 children, had severe head wounds from an axe. It's sad. A lengthy investigation yielded several suspects, one of whom was tried twice. The first trial ended in a hung jury, and the second ended in an acquittal. Now, note, a hung jury, also called a deadlock jury, is a jury that cannot agree upon a verdict after extended deliberation and is unable to reach the required unanimity or supermajority. Okay. Note, an acquittal is in common law jurisdictions. An acquittal means that the prosecution has failed to prove that the accused is free from the charge of an offense as far as criminal law is concerned. Okay. The Moore family consisted of parents Josiah B., age 43, Sarah Nee Montgomery, 39, and their 4 children. Herman Montgomery, 11, Mary Catherine, 10, Arthur Boyd, 7, and Paul Vernon, 5. An affluent family, the Moores were well known and well liked in their community. On June 9th, 1912, Mary Catherine Moore invited Ina May, 8 years old, and Lena Gertrude Stillinger, 12 years old, to spend the night at the Moore residence. Presbyterian Church, hold on, let me see. There are more residents. That evening, the visiting girls in the Moore family attended the Presbyterian Church where they participated in the Children's Day program, which Sarah had coordinated. After the program ended at 9:30 p.m. Okay. It ended at 9:30 p.m. The Moores and the Stillinger sisters walked to the Moores' house, arriving between 9:45 and 10 p.m. At 7 a.m. the next day, June 10th, Mary Peckham, the Moore's neighbor, became concerned after she noticed that the family had not come out to do their morning chores. Peckham knocked on the Moore's door. When nobody answered, she tried to open the door and discovered that it was locked. Peckham let the Moore's chickens out and called Ross Moore, Josiah's brother. Like Peckham, Moore received no response when he knocked on the door and shouted. Ross unlocked the front door with his copy of the house key, while Peckham stood on the porch. Ross went into the parlor and opened the guest bedroom door, where he found Ina and Lena Stillinger's bodies on the bed. Moore immediately told Peckham to call Henry Hank Horton, Vilisca's primary peace officer, who arrived shortly after. Now note, peace officer, which is a law enforcement officer, or Leo, and that's what it is. It's a police officer. They just call it a peace officer. I don't know why. I never heard that, but this is back in the early 1900s, y'all. So they had different terminology for some things than we do. All right. Horton's search of the house revealed that the entire Moore family and the two Stillinger girls had been bludgeoned to death. The murder weapon, an axe belonging to Josiah, was found in the guest room where the Stillinger sisters were found. Now, doctors concluded that the murders had taken place between midnight and 5 a.m. Okay. Where am I at? I lost my spot. Dang it. Two spent cigarettes in the attic suggested that the killer or killers patiently waited. According to the official tour, there were no cigarettes found. Okay, so that's the tour of the house, which you can get a tour of that house. In the attic, the killer or killers began. Okay, so the killer in the attic until the Moore family and the Stillinger guests were asleep. So supposedly, theoretically, if there was these attackers, because we don't know really what happened, these attackers or attacker was hiding in the attic. Supposedly there was cigarette butts. Supposedly there wasn't. But they're saying that, supposedly they patiently waited in the attic until the Moore family and the Stillinger guests were asleep. So then they made their move, which obviously, I mean, anybody's going to do something that vile and bad, they're obviously going to wait. They're not going to have, they want the least amount of resistance. They don't want a person to fight them back. So obviously it makes sense. They're going to wait till they sleep. So the killer or killers began in the master bedroom where Josiah and Sarah Moore were sleeping. Okay. Josiah received more blows from the axe than any other victim. His face had been cut to such an extent that his eyes were missing. That's pretty brutal right there. I'm sorry, you guys, this is a little bit graphic, but these are going to be for adults. You definitely, and it's going to be set for adult rating on here. So, the ceiling in his room also had a gouge mark from when the murderer lifted the axe to murder him. The killer or killers used the blade of the axe on Sarah while using the blunt end on the rest of the victims. Wow. That's a little bit interesting, huh? Almost like we'll go through it more. Herman, Mary Catherine, Arthur, and Paul were next bludgeoned in the head in the same manner as the parents. Afterwards, the murderer returned to the master bedroom to inflict more blows on the elder Moores, knocking over a shoe that had filled with blood, before moving downstairs to the guest room bedroom and killing Ina and Lena. Seemingly afterwards, a 4-pound slab of bacon was taken out of the icebox and laid next to the axe. Investigators also found untouched food and bloody water during the search. After the search, people were let in to see if they could have committed the crime, completely contaminating the weapon. That's weird. Investigators believed that all of the victims, except for Lena Stillinger, had been asleep when murdered. They thought that she was awake and tried to fight back, as she was found lying crosswise on the bed and with a defensive wound on her arm. Lena's nightgown was pushed up to her waist, and she was wearing no undergarments, leading to law enforcement speculation the killers or killer sexually molested her or attempted to do so. This was later proven false. Over time, many possible suspects emerged, including Reverend George Kelly, Frank F. Jones, William Mansfield, Loving Mitchell, Paul Mueller, and Henry Lee Moore, no relation. Kelly was tried twice for the murder. The first trial ended in a hung jury, while the second ended in an acquittal. Other suspects in the investigation were also exonerated. Okay, now, let's just stop for a second, okay? Let me get my bearings because this is a lot to wrap your head around. It's only been a few minutes. I know. I'm sorry, you guys, but we need to discuss this stuff, okay? You're talking about a family that, you know, they had a couple guests that was, you know, their kids' age. You know, they probably friends. They wanted to hang out and stuff like that. So that's what was going on. But nevertheless, you know, something horrific like this happens, and it's just I can't even wrap my mind around this. Like, how does somebody have the mentality to do this kind of stuff? I mean, to actually have that much rage that you're going to hurt kids, you're going to hurt children. I mean, you may have a beef with the dad, you might have a problem with the wife. You know, it might be, who knows? It could have even been a woman. You know what I mean? That was the killers. You don't know. It could have been somebody that that Sarah Moore might have made mad. You know. In my opinion, I don't know. I mean, because these are all like, we got to think about this objectively. Okay. I mean, what's the possible scenarios? What, you know, supposedly these people were really well known and well loved in the community. Obviously not, because somebody didn't like them, and why would they not like them? They had to give them reason and for them to get to this length or this limit. And honestly, if somebody's to that point, the family had to have known that there was somebody in particular that was kind of rubbed the wrong way by them. You know, I mean, this is sad. You know, it's really sad. And my heart goes out to the family that died from this. It's really sad. But yeah, I mean, this is absolutely insanity, absolute craziness. Anyhow, let's get back to it. I'm sorry, you guys. I just want to reflect. And if you guys have any ideas or opinions on any of this throughout this video, you know, throw a comment in there. Let me know. Say, hey, man, you know, I found out this or that. If you have any information that, you know, you'd like to add to this video, absolutely. I'll be glad to listen to it, you know. See if my button came unbuttoned there. Maybe I'm getting beefy. Maybe I'm buffing up. Bull crap. I ain't been working out. Anyways, you guys, let's continue on, okay? Now, we're going to talk about Andrew Sawyer. Okay, every transient and otherwise unaccounted for stranger was a suspect in the murders. Andrew Sawyer was one of these people. He was interrogated but not charged. He also was obsessed with the murders and slept fully clothed as if he was ready to make a clean getaway, and he also slept with an axe by his bed. Okay, yeah, that's strange. Now listen, I'm going to stop you there. We're going to think about this and look at this back in those days. Okay, modern day times we don't. I mean, there's people who do still split wood and stuff like that. I know because I live around them and I've done it myself. But it's not as it's not as widely common as it used to be back in the day. Now, I guarantee you, back then, you're talking, this is 1912, okay? This is before the Great Depression, right? So everybody had an axe in their house. Everybody. I guarantee you they did. Because that was their main source of heating. You use wood, you know, coal probably, I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm assuming back then. That's probably what it was. So just because the guy had an axe in his house and slept with it behind his bed doesn't mean, you know, he's an axe murderer. It just means that the guy had an axe. You know, he probably chopped wood, same as anybody else. Or maybe he just used it for protection. You know, if he was a stranger, which, yeah, that is kind of odd. He's a stranger and he has an axe behind his bed. But I don't know. How long was he there? Like, that's the question. Like, I didn't get the information for that. That's what throws me off and that's what makes me mad. But I just wanted to throw that little tidbit out there for you guys because that's the facts. Like, that's what people did back then. You know, their heating source majority was, you know, throw wood on the fire, throw coal on the fire, whatever. But majority, just about everybody had an axe in their house. I guarantee they all had an axe in their house. Anyways, enough of my ranting and raving. Let's continue on. Okay? Reverend George Kelly. All right, let's find out about this fella. Kelly was an English-born traveling minister in town on the night of the murders. Kelly was described as peculiar, reportedly having suffered a mental breakdown as an adolescent. As an adult, he was accused of peeping and several times asking young women and girls to pose nude for him. Wow, this guy's not, it's not sounding too good for him right now, is it? On June 8th, 1912, he came to Vilisca to teach at the Children's Day services, which the Moore family attended on June 9th, 1912, hours before the bodies were discovered. So, Reverend Kelly had confessed to the murders in court, but the jury didn't believe his confession. In the weeks that followed, he displayed a fascination with the case and wrote many letters to the police, investigators, and family of the deceased. This aroused suspicion in a private investigator, and a private investigator wrote back to Reverend Kelly, asking for details that the minister might know about the murders. Kelly replied with great detail, claiming to have heard sounds and possibly witnessed the murders. His known mental illness made authorities question whether he knew the details because of having committed the murders or was imagining his account. So was he delirious? Did he witness it from afar? Was he not even involved? And he just happened to see it, but that couldn't be possible because if that's the case, he was hiding in the house. We're going to get into that further. I don't want to reveal no more, but that's my, okay. All right. Anyways. Okay. Now, let's continue on. In 1914, 2 years after the murders, Kelly was arrested for sending obscene material through the mail. He was sexually harassing a woman who applied for a job as his secretary. He was sent to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, the National Mental Hospital in Washington, D.C. Investigators speculated, again, that Kelly could be the murderer of the Moore family. In 1917, Kelly was arrested for the Vilisca murders. Police obtained a confession from him. However, it followed many hours of interrogation, and Kelly later recanted. After 2 separate trials, he was acquitted. Now, that's a lot to ingest right there. That's not a lot to take in. Wow. Like this guy, he's got a lot he's all over the place. I mean, he's got a mental illness. He's into younger children doing obscene things for them, whatever, I'm sure. But it's just not looking good for him in this case, in the situation, and him being around. You know, obviously that gave the cops a red flag. They're like, hey, we got to look into this guy. So obviously that's why he was checked out, and for good reason. Now we're going to go to Frank F. Jones. He's the next one. Okay? Now, Frank Fernando Jones was a Vilisca resident and an Iowa State senator. What? We got a senator in here? Holy jeez. We got to get into this. Josiah Moore had worked for Frank Jones at his implement store for many years before leaving to open his own store. The plot thickens. Moore reportedly took business away from Jones, including a very successful John Deere dealership. Moore was rumored to have had a sexual affair with Jones's daughter-in-law, though no evidence supports this. So that's purely speculation. They don't have no proof of that, right? Maybe he did. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe this Frank Fernando Jones, he decides, hey, you know what? Okay, bud, I see what you're up to. Trying to screw my business up and screw around with my daughter-in-law? Okay. Well, I'm going to take it to you. And maybe that's who did it. Who knows? Or maybe he didn't even do it. Maybe he had somebody paid to do it. I mean, that's always an option too, right? I mean, if he's a senator, he got some power, he got some pull, he got some backing. You know? So, what do you guys think? What do you think about Frank Fernando Jones? Think he's in the runnings? What do you think? All right, let's go to the next one. William Mansfield. Another theory was that Senator Jones hired... Here we go. Another theory was that Senator Jones hired William Mansfield to murder the Moore family. 9 months before the murders at Vilisca, a similar case of axe murder occurred in Colorado Springs, Colorado. 2 axe murder cases followed in Ellsworth, Kansas, and Paola, Kansas. The cases were similar enough to raise the possibility of having been committed by the same person. Other murders reported as possibly being linked to these crimes include the numerous unsolved axe murders along the Southern Pacific Railroad from 1911 to 1912, the unsolved Axeman of New Orleans killings, as well as several other such murders during this time period. The murders in Colorado Springs were closely related in execution to those in the Moore house. Now, H.C. Wayne, his wife and child, and Miss A.J. Burnham were found dead, murdered with an axe. Bed sheets were used to cover the windows to prevent passerby from looking in. At the Moore house, the murderer hung aprons and skirts to cover the windows. As in the murders in Vilisca, the murderer in Colorado Springs wiped the blood off his axe and covered the heads of the victims with bedclothes. Mansfield was also the prime suspect of the Burns Detective Agency of Kansas City and Detective James Newton Wilkerson, who suggested that he was a cocaine-addicted serial killer. Okay. Now, just for 1 second, I'm gonna stop you for a second here. We're gonna get back into this for a second, but the brief pause is due to this. Okay. You see how they was talking about throwing the sheets over the windows, throwing skirts and aprons, whatever, over top. That's how I'm saying about that Reverend Kelly, you know, because if he knew what was going on and he's claiming he was there at the murders, that would put him directly at the scene of the crime, in the scene of the crime, when it's going on. Because he couldn't have been outside of the house. Maybe you got a fraction of a chance that he was standing outside and seeing stuff going on prior to them putting them up. But I would assume if everyone was asleep and these murderers, okay, was planning on doing this stuff, they already had it thought out. Whoever this was had it thought out. They had it planned if they did all that stuff. And I assure you, they probably did that prior to doing any whacking, any knocking off of people. Because that's, in their sense, that's the smartest way to do it. Because if you're trying to have the least amount of resistance, okay, you want the least amount of resistance, you don't want no witnesses, correct? That's exactly what you're going to do. So then you're going to put sheets over the windows, you're going to go ahead, and you can take your time doing it too, because everybody's asleep. They have no idea you're even there, right? So let's just throw that little nugget out there. That's a little note of my own, okay? Now, let's go back into this. Let's get into this crap again, because it's getting deep. According to contemporary new reports, Wilkerson believed Mansfield was responsible for the axe murders of his wife, child, father-in-law, and mother-in-law in Blue Island, Illinois. On July 5th, 1914, 2 years after the Vilisca murders, the axe murders committed in Paola, Kansas, 4 days before the Vilisca murders, and the murders of Jenny Peterson and Jenny Miller in Aurora, Illinois. According to Wilkerson's investigation, all of the murders were committed in precisely the same manner, indicating that the same man probably committed them. Wilkerson stated that he could prove that Mansfield was present in each of the differing crime scenes on the night of the murders. In each murder, the victims were hacked to death with an axe, and the mirrors in the homes were covered, which is another strange thing, right? Covering the mirrors? Okay, I can see you're covering the windows and stuff. Why are you covering mirrors? Whoever this is might not be stable. Or perhaps maybe they just don't want to look at themselves after doing this stuff to know what kind of a horrible person they are. I mean, it seems to me like it's like a mental issue or something. But, okay. Anyways, we're going to continue on. A burning lamp with the chimney off was left at the foot of the bed, and a basin in which the murderer washed was found in the kitchen. In each case, the murderer avoided leaving fingerprints by wearing gloves, which Wilkerson believed was strong evidence that the man was Mansfield, who knew his fingerprints were on file at the federal military prison at Leavenworth. Okay. So he knew his fingerprints would be on file. This dude, he's got to be a pro if he's into knocking people off. Okay, now Wilkerson managed to convince a grand jury to open an investigation in 1916. And Mansfield was arrested and brought to Montgomery County from Kansas City. Payroll records, however, provided an alibi that placed Mansfield in Illinois at the time of the Vilisca murders. He was released for lack of evidence and later won a lawsuit he brought against Wilkerson and was awarded $2,225. Wilkerson believed that pressure from Jones resulted not only in Mansfield's release, but also in the subsequent arrest and trial of Reverend Kelly. Wow. This is a damn roller coaster ride right here. A lot of ups and downs. Let's figure this thing out, man. Let's see what we can come to our own conclusion, okay? However, R.H. Thorpe, a restaurant owner from Shenandoah, Iowa, not Shenandoah in Virginia, Shenandoah, Iowa, identified Mansfield as the man he saw the morning after the Vilisca murders. Boarding a train at Clarinda, this man said he had walked from Vilisca. If proven to be true, this testimony would disprove Mansfield's alibi. It was reported that a Miss Vina Tompkins of Marshalltown was on her way to testify that she heard 3 men in the woods plotting the murder of the Moore family a short time before the killings. What? Oh my God. This, listen, when you got crap like this going on in real life, who the hell needs a drama? Because that's life. It is. That's what we're living. But my God, the plot thickens further and further and further. And it's like, yeah, I know there's some unsavory characters out there, but my God, how can you place so many people in the same time frame, the same area, and literally have, I give all these detectives credit, okay? All these beat cops that do the beat and stuff, they have a tough job. They got to deal with a lot of craziness and decipher the BS from the reality, But, I'm just saying, I got to give my hats off to them. They're not getting paid real great for what they do, honestly. Go to college, You bust your hump to get good grades. You get into the academy, go through the academy, do your fitness training, get into it, and then you're walking the streets and you got people throwing beer bottles at you, whatever, just acting like idiots, belligerent idiots. And you got to tolerate this stuff every day. It's no wonder that they snap and they have a problem once in a great while. It happens. Let me ask you something. How many years would you tolerate dealing with people's BS on a daily? Half of you people probably quit cashier jobs because you can't deal with the public and their craziness. Well, what do you think a cop has to deal with? This poor bastard got to get out and give you a ticket and everything on the side of the damn road and watch some idiot isn't driving drunk and hits him while he's trying to give you a ticket because you was driving too fast. And you're going to argue it every time. Hey, when you're caught and you're in the wrong, admit it. Just be like, hey, yep, hey, bro, I'm good. Write me up the ticket. Let's get it. Let's do this thing. Anyhow, that's just my small rant on cops and the suffering, the craziness they got to deal with. Okay? Think about that. All right. Now, this Mansfield guy, he seems like he would have been like a real fit for this, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being a goof and I'm not really, but we're not through all of it yet. So let's take in the rest of it, okay? Let it soak in. And anybody that has a comment down, throw a comment down below. Tell me who you think could have been the murderer. Or if there's a whole total different one that I don't even know about that maybe you found out about. I don't know. Let's make this interesting, y'all. Come on. We're trying to bring this to the forefront so we're aware of the craziness that this world has, right? We're also going to try and see if we can come to our own conclusion as to who possibly did this, or was it how many people did it? Things like that. Throw comments down below. Let me know what you think, what your opinion is after all of this is done. Okay, now we're going to go to the next guy. The next guy, his name's Henry Lee Moore. Okay? Now, Henry Lee Moore was a suspected serial killer who was not related to the victims. Let's get that clear. He has the same last name, but he's not related. Okay. But he was a suspected serial killer who was convicted of the murder of his mother and grandmother several months after the murders in Vilisca. His weapon of choice being an axe. Before and after the murders in Vilisca, the very similar axe murders on his mother and grandmother were committed, and all of the cases showed striking similarities, leading to strong suspicion that some or all of the crimes were committed by an axe-murdering serial killer, and just like Mansfield, the axe-murdering Henry Moore can also be considered a suspect in some of these slayings. Now that's all I got on that one, guys. They didn't give me more. If you want a part 2, we'll go into it and we'll try and dig into him more. If you want any one of these people to be dug into further and research further, by any means, throw it down there. Let me know. Okay? Now, we're going to go to the next guy. He don't got really much of anything on this. I don't know why I get very few stuff on. It is what it is. I'm going to quit my bitching. Listen, we're going to do Sam Moyer. This is the next guy. Okay? Sam Moyer. At the inquest, it was reported that Sam Moyer, Josiah's brother-in-law, often threatened to kill Josiah Moore. However, upon further investigation, Moyer's alibi cleared him of the crime. So you got his brother-in-law, right? Threatened to kill him. And upon further investigation, his alibi checked out. Now, I don't know. I mean, my God, what a drama this is. Anyways, that's all we got for Sam Moyer. Okay? If you want me to dig in deeper with each one of these what do you want to call it? The accused people, I'll do that. You know, if you want to hear whatever else, just let me know. You know, if you have any information you want to throw into it, and then we can go back through, do an episode 2, and we'll throw any of the information that you can compile to it with mine, and we'll put it on there. I'll be glad to do that, and I'll definitely throw a shout out to you. Okay, by any means. Now let's do Paul Mueller. Paul Mueller in 2017's book, The Man from the Train, Bill James and his daughter, Rachel McCarthy James, discussed the Vilisca murders as part of a much larger series of murders which they believe were all committed by a single serial killer. Wow, that's a pretty good accusation there. They conclude the murderer was Paul Mueller, or Miller, an immigrant, possibly from Germany, who was the subject of an unsuccessful year-long manhunt as the sole suspect in the 1897 murder of a family in West Brookfield, Massachusetts, who had employed him as a farmhand. Okay? Now, James started his research in an attempt to solve the Vilisca murders, and with his daughter, found archival newspaper stories detailing dozens of families murdered under similar circumstances across the U.S. The Jameses thus believed that Mueller was guilty of the Vilisca murders as part of a killing spree that lasted over a decade, killing at least 59 people in 14 separate incidents, including Colorado Springs and Paola crimes. The Jameses identify common features of these crimes, many of which are also found at the Vilisca scene. The killer selected families who lived near railroad tracks, which is why the killer was suspected to have traveled, hence their book's title. Seemingly, to have traveled, seemingly struck in ambush at about midnight while the victims were asleep. Used the blunt side of an axe rather than the blade to strike the victims in the head and face. Used an axe found at the victim's home and left in plain sight after the murders. Covered the victims with blankets to prevent blood splatter. Covered windows from inside the house and locked the doors before departure. In Mueller's suspected crimes, there was often, but not always, a sexual motive directed towards a pubescent girl, as with Lena's being partly disrobed. Professor and crime writer Harold Schechter writes that the Jameses offered the most probable solution yet for the Vilisca murders. And there's other similar cases as well. As far as this goes, there you got the Ardenwald axe murders, the Hinterkaifeck murders, the Colorado Springs Paola murders, as well as others. So there's a whole bunch of other ones. And honest to God, I'm going to go ahead and jump into these individually. I'm going to do these as well. So these are going to be more of the Fred files coming up further on. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a touch up here on my unsolved murders that I'm going to be doing. Okay? My God, I got, like I said, clear from these unsolved murders will go from anywhere from 1900 to 1979. Okay? That's damn near 80 years worth of murders that's unsolved. So there's a lot here. Okay? Trust me when I tell you this. I haven't done any of the research yet, but I got all the titles, the different names. So let's just go down through it quick. We'll go ahead and run down on this. We got William Gobel in 1900. Ernest Winter of 1900, Bertha Shippen from 1902, Rose Harsent from 1902, 1904, Al Swearingen, 1905, 20th Century Limited Derailment, which is a train incident. That's another one. 1905, Tommaso Petto, 1906, John Otunba Payne, 1906, Jean Van Kalk, 1907, Marinas Antipas. Let's go ahead and jump further. We're going to go down to 1912, Daisy Grace. 1913, Lukagon Bogdanovic. 1915, Huang Yuanyong. 1917, Wonongeta murders. Vladimir Boygovensky in 1918. Nikolai Vitorov in 1917. Axeman of New Orleans in 1919. Okay? These are all different ones I'm going to be covering. So you got a lot to look forward to, y'all. I got a lot of different stuff I'm trying to do and limited time to do it. Okay? I'm doing the best that I can. If you have any hints, any tips, tricks, anything that you want to say that I'm doing wrong, that I need to do better, that I need to improve on, I'll be glad to listen to it. Trust me, I can handle constructive criticism. Okay? I won't take. I'm glad you're even getting a hold of me and talking to me about whatever. Whether it's a subject or an episode that you want me to do on something you want. Okay? It doesn't matter. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and go down here. 1919, Mabel Greenwood. That's another one. Bella Wright, 1919. Let's go down to, we're going to skip clear down. We're going to go to 1930. Okay, we skipped a bunch of years there. I'm sorry. But Vallejo, Roosevelt, and Jane Vitellian. We got 1930, Oni Happenin. 1931, Julia Wallace. 1931, Harry C. Beasley, Arthur Brennan. Another one in 1931, Eddie Mapp, Vera Page. Vampire Murder Case, 1932. That's another one we're going to do, right? That's Lily Lindstrom in there. Southern Pacific Railroad's City of San Francisco train derailed in 1939. We're going to do that as well. We're going to do Joseph Lynch and Ferdinand Shoka in 1940. Let's see here. Elizabeth Short or the Black Dahlia, 1947. That's going to be upcoming. Texarkana Moonlight Murders. We're going to do that. Who Put Bella Down the Witch Elm, 1943. We're going to do that one and cover that. Gambino Crime Family, Philip Mangano, 1951. We're going to do him. Who else? We got Joseph Augustus Zarelli, The Boy in the Box, 1957. I think that was Philadelphia, if I remember correctly. Francis Hillman Blackwell, The Scrapper Blackwell, 1962. We're going to do him. We're going to do Airlines Flight 2511 in 1960. We're going to do The Blonde Dolly, Sybil Neiman's, 1959. Okay? We're going to do a lot of stuff in here, you guys. I swear to you, you're going to enjoy this. Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 21, 1965. We're going to do that one. Cyprus Airways Flight 284, 1965. Patterson, New Jersey Bar, Reuben Carter and John Artis, 1966. We're going to do that. Cook County, Ralph Probst in 1967. Lamb Bun, 1967. The Zodiac Killer, David Arthur Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, which was murdered in 1968. Clarence 13X, 1969. Catherine Cessniks, 1969. Betsy Ardsma, 1969. Then we're going to do, where else? We got some other ones. The Freeway Phantom, 1971. Okay. Carol Dennis Spinks. And also Darlenia Denise Johnson. That was the Freeway Phantom, was those two, both of them. I'm sure there's more. I got to get into it. I haven't done the research yet. So, John Cochran, Mary Gimmel, and William Gordon. The Red Lions Pub in Belfast, Ireland, 1971. We're going to do that. The Munsterland Killer, which 1971 was Edel Troud Van Boxel. And another one was 1972, Barbara Storm, the Munsterland Killer. We're going to do the JAT Flight 367, 1972. We're going to do the Harlem Mosque, Philip Gardillo. Okay. Genovese Crime Family, Thomas Eboli, 1972. We're going to do The Mage, Major Coxon, a drug kingpin, 1973. The New Orleans Gay Bar, Upstairs Lounge in 1973. There was killing there. Belfast, Northern Ireland, Brian McDermott, 1973. Boston Strangler, Albert DeSalvo, 1973. We're going to do Chicago Outfit, Richard Kane, 1973. A killer, Richard Lawrence Marquette, Jane Doe, 1974. Black Panther Party, Betty Van Patter. She did the books for the Black Panther Party. She was killed. We're going to do that. We're going to do Hudson River, the Bag Murders, okay? 1975 to 77. What else we're going to do? Another Chicago Outfit. Sam Sam Giancana, 1975. My God, we got so many here. We got Mafia Contract Killers, Frank Bompensiero, 1977. Mafia Assassin, Charles Nicoletti, 1977. Somebody that was found in a septic tank, Gordon Sanderson, 1977. The Westies, crime family boss, Irish American, Mickey Spillane, 1977. Camp Scott, Girl Scout Camp, Locust Grove, Oklahoma, 1977. So we got a lot of different stuff here. We got a lot. We have so much to do here. We got Middle East Airlines Flight 438, 1976. What else we got here? The Italian social movement, okay? Franco Viganzetti was 13 years old. Francesco Ciavetta, 17 years old, that passed away, that was killed in this, 1978. Jimi Hendrix and Kim Mills in the Pemiscot County Does. That's what they called them. Because it took forever for them to find out who it was. The Hogan's Heroes star, Bob Crane, 1978. Girlfriend of Sex Pistols, Sid Vicious, Nancy Spungen, 1978. What else we got? The Family Murders, Alan Arthur Barnes, 1979. Perry County, Pennsylvania, Perry County Jane Doe, 1979. The founder of the Crips, Raymond Washington, 1979. Okay? We're going to go through all this stuff, man. I mean, we're going to get into it. So y'all, stay tuned. And I tell you right now, when I tell you this, I do research. Okay? I'm not a professional researcher, but I do the best of my abilities to get everything I can for y'all. Because I want you guys to have the best content you can get. All right? I want your gears turning. I want you to think about this stuff. Let it all soak in. I'm sorry I went so fast through all those. My God, you got to figure that's I think it was 5 pages front and back with just different names and years and the titles, like what they were. Some of them, not all of them had it. It just had the name and the year, which is why I went down through there so fast. But I'm telling you what, you guys, if you love me doing the Fred Files, and this isn't just going to be murders, okay? So don't get it twisted on that. It's not going to just be murders. Yeah, I'm just going down through the list of the different cold cases that I'm going to cover. Now, we're also going to cover disappearances, and I think I'm going to transfer the 411s over onto this as well. And we're also going to do some of the paranormal type of stuff. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to throw it on here because I think this is a good way to delegate my episodes to. I think it'll work out nice that way. We're still going to do our comedy skits. We're still going to do our fake commercials and all that good fun stuff. We're also going to do our regular stories of historic people and places, things like that. We're going to do the national parks. We're still going to do new tribes, different peoples and tribes, okay, like I did the Melungeons. Okay, we're going to do all this. I got a lot on my plate, a lot that I want to do, and I'm also going to still do instructional videos, okay? I just did my first one for wood burning, okay? And I didn't physically do the wood burning on it, but I showed you the techniques of it and how to do it. Maybe the next episode I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll dive into it and I'll actually do it. But it takes time doing that stuff, and I don't know how to do the fast forwarding and stuff on it. So, you know, that it's kind of a iffy spot with that. So I don't know. I don't want to overrun the episode by, you know, this and that. Maybe I'll just clip it. I don't. That's for me to figure out. But anyways, I hope you guys love this episode. I know it's a shame going over this hard-nosed stuff. It's a sad thing, and they all are. But I need to make you guys aware of the craziness that's in this world. Okay, that's my goal, to let you know that there are people that's just literally off their rocker, you know, and they do the craziest shit. They will hurt you in a heartbeat. So keep your eyes open. You know, I'm not saying be paranoid, but keep your eyes open. You know what I mean? Protect yourself, your family, your loved ones. You know, just do you. But always keep it in the back of your mind. Be cautious. You know? If you have a feeling in a gut feeling, or, you know, it's like that sixth sense, you just feel like something's not connecting, something's not right, scan your area. Look around. You know, just look around. You know, keep yourself protected out there. This world's getting crazy. It's getting crazier every day. But this is Fred, and this is the episode 1 of the Fred Files, the Vilisca Axe murders. Okay, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I thank you, again, the Trading Post family. And if you're not part of the family, why don't you come in? We'll welcome you in with open arms. So, all of you, thank you again very much. Me and Noodle both thank you so much for tuning in and keeping an interest in our content. Thank you. You guys have a good one. Till the next one, okay? We'll see you soon.